Okay, guys, what's up? Welcome to the Opposites Attract podcast. I'm Shlex.
I'm Southwest Bully, the one and only.
And we're going to hop into entrepreneurship today. So right off the bat, I just wanted to quickly mention that if you missed the last one, we changed the name of the podcast to Opposites Attract because of the fact that Jay and I are, we'll say like on paper, extremely different people. Male, female, single, in a relationship.
Black,
kids,
white.
No kids, black, white, age difference, different backgrounds, different upbringing, different everything. And we have a very similar opinion about most things, but very different opinions about 100%. Others. So it's really fun, and this is why we have such a good dynamic, in my opinion. And we've known each other for a minute, and we know exactly which buttons to push to piss the other one off.
Oh shit, it's like that. True.
But yeah, so we're gonna hop right into it today. So entrepreneurship, we're both entrepreneurs. I have learned so much from Jay. I started training with Jay 6 years ago when I needed him the most, and it was amazing that our paths crossed, and here we are now. But I just want to hop right into it. And so I wanted to know where your entrepreneurship story started. Like, I would say like mentors, we can even go back to when you were a kid.
Wow.
If you want to go back that far. If not, say maybe in your teens, like what was it spark? You told me you were a bagger last week, which was interesting to me. But where did the job start? Even what was your first job?
My first job?
Yeah.
My first job, actually, I was young. It wasn't legal to even work. Oh. But I remember down my parents' street, there was like a place called Richer and Fils. And it was just like, they would pack woods. It was like wood for fires and shit. And, I was getting paid like 75 cents a bag. And I would just put wood in a bag and then whatever.
How old were you?
Like I said, I was like too young 12? To work. Like I was in primary school, like elementary school.
Gosh.
It didn't make sense. But it's just, I wanted to work. Yeah. I wanted a job. I wanted to make money. So I was bagging wood. And then after that, I remember my dad's like, yo, how much are they paying you? What the fuck's going on? And he's like, yo, this is not right. You're coming back home. Then I stopped working. But then going to high school, how I became an entrepreneur is funny. Is like I went to high school and my parents were very broke, very bad on money. They had that mindset of like, we always lack. We never have enough. If we go to the store, it's like, no, we can't buy it. No,
I want to get into that later, so we will circle back to that.
Yes.
Something I want to talk to you about.
So the fact that my parents were like that, it really prevented me from being able to rely on them for finances or funds in general. So I go to school and like all my friends are able to go to Fairview and buy clothes, able to go to the movies with like a nice $50 on them and buy snacks and whatever. Lunch money was never an issue for all my friends. But then I'm here just asking people like, yo, you got $1? Yo, you got $1? And the only reason why I could get away with it is because I was one of the popular kids. Okay. So it's like you gave JY $1. It's like, yo, I gave JY $1. Like I put him on.
It was a flex for them.
It was a flex for them until it got annoying to some of them because then I started abusing the power of asking for money. And then it led me to feeling very awkward because people were like, yo, you don't have money? Like, what the hell? Like, why you asked me for money last week? Where's my $2 from last time? And I was like, damn, I don't want to feel like that. So there was my homies, well, my cousins, their grandmother used to, well, like they're friends that I call my cousin. But anyways, their grandmother used to take care of me. And I saw the oldest brother out of the two hustling. He was a street nigga, just making his money, hustling. And I remember it was like, he always had fresh clothes, fresh sneakers, fresh everything. So at one point I'm like,
that's what I want.
Exactly. That's what I want. That's who, like now we're talking about mentors. So it was the OGs that were in my neighborhood that just had the money. It was just like, okay, then I can do that too. So I started selling weed. Okay. Once I started selling weed, I had a little bit of pocket change. I'm able to buy my own food. I'm able to get my girlfriend something and just like, move around school. And then weed went to pills and pills went to coke and coke went to crack. And then after it just built up from there. So my mentor was the streets initially. I have no background in business. I didn't go to JMSB. Is it JMSB? Yeah. Just making sure. Don't want to diss no one. I didn't finish high school. I don't even have my, what is diploma? It? Yeah, I don't have my diploma, but I think I finished in 8th. I only have my 8th grade. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I dropped out. And then I really had to teach myself. So I'm really self-taught when it came to making money. Obviously, I always say the best entrepreneurs are the guys in the streets. Like, you have to respect them. But because society puts this whole criminal title to them and that stigma, it's like, oh my God, no, we can't acknowledge them as being hustlers. But that's where I got everything.
It comes like so many of the key points of key like assets of an entrepreneur come from
100%. And if you think about it, like for the people that know my gym, you work there, it's like, you're not my employee. You're typically my runner. It's like if I gave you an ounce of weed or an 8-ball and I told you, like, run your shit.
Do your thing.
Exactly. So
this is so funny because you keep referring back to the streets as your mentor, and then when I'm going to get into mine, it's my dad. You're like, and it's just the streets and weed. I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah, that's how I started. Yeah. So, and at one point, to go back to the story of me being a bagger, I was a teenager, and obviously you get a teenage job, like you work, whether you work at the grocery store or at the movies, whatever. I worked at the grocery store, and it was also, we used to say it's like, oh, it's a front. It's just to not seem like I'm selling dope. But in reality, I started working there, and then I was selling dope at the same time. So when I had a break, or you can meet me in the back while I'm picking up the carts, and I'll give you a little thing. And then at one point, my boy's like, hey, my mom was asking about you. And I'm like, oh, yeah, say a word. And he's like, yeah. And she's wondering, what are you doing? Like, she knows you're working at Metro. She knows you're not in school. But she's just wondering, where are you going with your life? And then he looked at me and he's like, I actually thought about it when she asked me that. And I wondered, like, bro, it's either you go all in with the dope game or you go all in with grocery bagging and trying
something more straight.
Yeah, it's like just figure something out, because you can't be half-half. And that's the mentality I have today. It's like, if I'm going to risk it, whether it was going to Miami, opening up the gyms, opening up a second gym in the pandemic, like that moment, and I never forget it, and I always go back to it. It's like when my big bro just looked at me and he's like, yo, bro.
What's up? Like, where's your destination?
Yeah, be all in or not. Yeah. Like, stop your nonsense. And that's when I went all in with selling coke and crack, and I made a killing. And I was living just off that. It was the best time of my life, in a sense, and the worst at the same time.
We had very different times. And
the worst at the same time.
I love Ibiza. Like, I would love to go to Mykonos. That would be the time of my life. You're like, when I was
in the trap,
in the trenches. That's when I was living my best.
But that's when I got my best life lessons.
There you go. Yeah.
The ones that I run with till this day, and I'm going to teach my kids too in a better way.
But you teach all of us too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you really impose it. You really like it comes through, because it is part of not just your brand, but your identity, and it really transcends through your Instagram posts, through anyone who pulls up through the gym. Like, it really, like, everyone knows that that's who Jay is.
Exactly.
You know.
And I got to keep it 100. Like
as you always do.
So you.
Okay, well, mine's a very different story. I'll keep it, like, I'll limit a little bit of the details, but I initially worked at Dagwood's was my first job.
Oh, I remember.
I worked at Dagwood's.
At the Beaconsfield Gold's Gym.
No, the other one, the one down Kirkland, down St. Charles in Kirkland.
Okay.
So I worked at that one, and then I got fired one day because 3 people came in, like, within the span of 5 minutes of one another, and they had
counterfeit.
Yeah, okay, you already know the story, but I was like, I came in and I was like, oh, like, this guy's talking to me, I'm so cute. Like, I thought I was so cute because he's trying to talk to me, and he's like, speaks to me for like a few minutes. I'm at my Dagwood's uniform on. And he's like, can I buy a cookie? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I give him $98 and change. 5 minutes later, another guy comes in, does the exact same thing. Wow. 5 minutes later, another guy does the exact same thing.
And you did not realize.
I had no idea. And when my manager called me the next day, she goes, honestly, like, the accidents happen, but it's very alarming that you had no red flags go off your head after this happened 3 times. Like, that's what I'm more concerned about. We don't need you anymore.
Oh,
and
crazy.
I was crying. I thought it was the end of the world. So that was like a setback. And then I mostly worked in restaurants and bars, but I also worked at BuzzFit Kirkland, where I got fired also.
Yeah, what happened there?
I fell asleep at the desk. It was like I worked 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. And it was a fun job. Like, I met really cool people coming in and out. I liked what I did. But I was 18, 19, so I was in my party phase. So I would pull up with my heels still on, with my eyelashes like stuck to my cheek, like it was stumbling in.
A mess.
And and then I ended up falling asleep at the desk one day, and they're like, we don't need you anymore. And I remember calling my dad. I'm like, oh my God, this is the end of like the world. And now I like go back to BuzzFit. I'm like, look at me now.
Yeah.
But it's mostly been all, like, I guess straight jobs, like we just mentioned. But if I had to pinpoint a mentor in my life for entrepreneurship, it would be my dad. My dad's one of like the smartest people that I know. He was on Jeopardy and all that. And similar to your story is that he didn't like really finish school. He ended up not finishing and then just traveled. So my dad's a huge advocate. Like whenever I'm traveling a lot, he's like, do it, travel as much as you can. The world's gonna teach you the most, more than anyone else can.
Wow.
So he really encourages that. And then my dad just worked in bars and restaurants his whole life. And then when he came back to Canada, he was managers, bus boys, hosts, like everything, and then opened his own bars and restaurants. And that was my dad growing up. But then that's where you see the challenges of entrepreneurship too. And I'm sure you can speak on this, is because that's where there's a little bit of an intersection where family and entrepreneurship meet. Because the more you put time into your business, the less time, generally speaking, you have for your family. So I remember when I was growing up, I did see my parents together. We went on vacation and stuff, but not as often as like a normal, I guess, kid would, because my mom would leave super early in the morning at Air Canada, and my dad would be coming home super late from the bar, where he would be coming home at whatever 3 or 4 after working. And then so it was hard in that sense. But like I said, you could kind of speak more on that. Like if you, like, I'm sure that's a big struggle. We'll talk about the pros and cons. That's definitely, I'm sure, a con.
Honestly, it is. Well, it is a con to entrepreneurship. And it's like, you really need to find a partner that understands that, okay, like, this is the life he chose. And it's not 24/7. It's literally 25/8.
Yeah.
It's like, it's nonstop. And, it's so funny. I'm not going to get into relationships, but my last relationship, that was one of the biggest issues. It's like, oh, you put work before your family. You work all the time. But in reality, it's like, no, I'm working hard right now because entrepreneurship is that ticket. It's like, I don't want to call it that ticket. It's that process that's
it's
super,
that avenue.
Yeah,
it's
that
like,
avenue that's super complicated, super hard to go through, dreadful, tiring, but once you get to the finish line, you're like 35 and you're laughing. You're like 40 and you're laughing because you have all the freedom. You could see your kids. You can do, like, look at your dad. He pulls up to the gym all the time to come and check you. Like, he's always there for you. He has that freedom.
Lunch. Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, he sold the restaurants and made, you know, so it's like, you take all this time to build and build and build and build. And it's like long nights. But if you have the right team around you, and if your kids can understand and your wifey or your hubby can understand, it's like, it is that ticket to freedom. Which
goes back to the communication a lot too. Because even for right now, being an entrepreneur, it's like we mentioned it last episode, but it was about the kind of being on your phone all the time. Like you're constantly working, scheduling, processing payments, promotions, emails, everything. I feel like I'm always attached to my phone, and that's something that my dad didn't have to deal with this. If we go back, this is kind of a newer issue. They would have to be on the phone like this, but we're constantly attached to our devices now. But
it's like handicapping.
But it's our only. It's a tool that needs to be used. Otherwise, your business is gonna flop.
Yeah, but I don't know if your business would flop, because a lot of times, you want to go on that social media detox, and I'm like, yo, I know so many people that made it without posting, without Facebook, they just go back to word of mouth. Give that good service to that one person. Facts. That one person is going to give that amazing service, is going to talk about the amazing service at the office. Someone one day is going to be like, you know what? Karen was talking about her trainer. He's super great. Let me call him. Karen, who's your trainer? She didn't go on Instagram.
And that word of mouth is more valuable than any type of Instagram post that anyone could make,
So I feel like sometimes I just want to put myself up to the challenge. I want to put myself up to the challenge and say, like, you know what? Let me get off Instagram for like a month and just go with word of mouth. And a lot of times I had to, and I did it. It's like, my clients would speak to their brother, and their brother would speak to their friend, and then it's just a long chain reaction. As long as the service is good and you stand on your 10 toes, you can make it without social media. But yes, it is something that like we're glued to, and I feel like now we're just glued to it because social media makes money. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's so many opportunities now, and it's like the way that brands, even the budgets that they used to have, for example, that they would spend millions and millions of dollars on these TV ads. Now that's all being flushed all into social media, because our generation, that's all we're looking at. Straight up. That's all we're looking at. I'm like, what companies even still put advertisements on TV? I have no clue.
Unless it's a Super Bowl or whatever. But 100%.
Yeah. But then, so I was going to run back to what we were mentioning before about having a little bit of that financial mindset that your parents had, and then we can kind of talk about a little bit of abundance, but that fear, because obviously maybe not obviously, but entrepreneurship, in my opinion, it goes hand in hand with obviously financial freedom. That's why a lot of people get into it, because the schedule freedom, doing what you love to do, it being your own project, and also the money.
The money that comes
So let's
later,
get down.
though.
We get down, but that's exactly it.
Yeah.
But even when you have that mindset that your parents had, it really inhibits you from like we talked about that avenue, but that avenue, it's going to just add even more barriers to your final destination when you have that restrictive mindset when it comes to money. Because personally, when I was always taught, like, you can't, it's like, you know, when I was younger, for example, and I didn't have like that much money, like personally, I didn't have that much money, like when I was working at Dagwood's or BuzzFeed or whatever, and you have that scared feeling to check your bank account numbers. And that scared feeling is really what prevents you from getting to the next level of financial freedom, financial stability, of what you're trying to do. So that's the first thing when you're trying to get good with money. Yeah, there's investing. Yeah, there's this. You need to have that good relationship. Like, you have to know where you're at too. You have to be so self-aware, because if you're not self-aware, then you're like, where's my start point? I have no clue what the hell my destination can be. Like, I don't even know where I'm at right now. So you have to get rid of that before you can even have another goal. So back to like your parents, where you're saying like they had that restrictive mindset, and it kind of like it affected you a little bit. I guess.
It rubbed off on me, and naturally, and mindset is everything, right? So. Especially because of the pandemic, because before the pandemic, I had got out of it, especially selling dope. It's like, yo, you make $1,000 in a few hours, like easily.
But sorry to interrupt you. Was that consistent money? Or was that like, oh, summer's coming? Or everyone's smoking weed all year round type thing?
Yeah, but nah, I got into coke. So it's like.
So that was all, so the people were just.
The people come at like 7 p.m. and then they're back in front of your back door at like 11, and then they're back at your back door at like 7 a.m. and then they're back like, oh no, it's consistent.
Okay. So back to your parents.
Back to my parents. Yes, it did put on like this restriction in my mindset, which I got out of. And I would never worry about money. I would never check my bank account. I would never think about it. But then what happened is that the pandemic hit. And then the pandemic put me in a state of fear again.
Relatability for everyone. I'm sure everyone can relate to that.
But a lot of people don't, because a lot of people were getting the CERB, like we were getting in Canada, where it's like, okay, the government's giving you like $2,000 a month, and then
and a lot of people didn't have their business to worry about.
They didn't have their business. I opened up in 2019, made a killing, and it's the first year that Bully by Nature was incorporated, the first Bully by Nature. Because before that, I got into the gym business with a brand from Toronto. That I partnered up with.
Oh, I remember this. Yeah, we won't get into that.
I won't get into it. But I got out that business deal, and then after I was like, okay, F that. I'm gonna really make Bully by Nature happen. Yeah. So 2019, I opened up. 2020, we closed down. So it's like, damn, I was touching almost 10 racks a month.
Yeah, easy. I remember.
And then after that, it's like, boom, we closed down. I'm back to zero.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh my God.
Then we're dipping into the negatives.
Yeah, I'm getting $2,000 from the government. Like, what am I doing with this? I'm having a kid. My daughter was born in 2020. So it's like, oh my God, what's going on? So recently I'm starting to get back out. And that's where it comes to the mindset, but the subconscious mind. Yeah. You have to reprogram your subconscious mind. And I know a lot of people speak about affirmations and everything, but I actually believe I put a little audio when I go to bed.
I know you do.
And it's super low. You know that?
Because when I'm at the gym and I'm there till 10 p.m.
No, that's when I'm putting the babies to sleep. Okay. Oh, yeah, when you're there till 10 p.m.
Yeah, I'm there at 10 p.m. and the Spotify is connected and I'm like trying to play Lil Durk for my client, and then it's like affirmation, like evening, bedtime.
Yeah. So I put a little thing, and that's the main thing, is that people are restricted in whatever they're trying to do, whether it's entrepreneurship, relationship, whatever, because their subconscious mind is programmed depending on what your parents instilled in you, depending on the traumas you've lived. So a lot of people have this fear of money because their parents were always like, no, we can't get that. That's too expensive. This, that. And
I also think that's a generational thing. Even now, like even regardless of the actual like numbers on paper, like even if we were to compare two similar families in the past and now, in the past, it was a lot more restrictive. That was just a generational thing, because even when I go back, it's a bit further, but like my grandfather, but like the times of war, the times of like famine and rationing and those different things, and like slavery, everything, you know what I mean?
Plus on top of that, my parents are immigrants, so it's
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So that was a generational thing, and obviously it carries through, but even I think with my parents, there's something small, I think I've mentioned it too, but something with my parents that they've always taught me is that even if I'm walking down the street and I see a penny, a nickel, a dime, anything on the ground, I was always told to pick it up, because you need to show the universe that you're willing to accept money. Because if you are walking past that dime, that nickel, that quarter, and you leave it there, you're showing the universe, you're showing God, you're showing your higher power.
That's a
bar. You're showing the universe that you don't need it. You're not willing to accept money. So whenever you pick that up, even if you drop it, even if you give it to a homeless person, even if you give it to someone else later on, that needs to be picked up, because it's showing to yourself that it matters. It really does matter.
Everything.
Yeah. And it's like, again, it's not even if it's used, if you lose it, like, it is what it is. But it's just like that small, I mean, it might be like voodoo, but I really think it's a physical act. Exactly. It's a physical act that anyone could do. Like, even when I drop things on the ground, I'm like, okay, pick it up. It's important.
No, I believe in that 100%.
Yeah. So I think, even like I said, with my parents, it's not like we were the wealthiest family, but there was a little bit more like, I guess, abundance in terms of like allowing us to do things. I know they were in a position to be able to, like, obviously I wasn't able to get everything I wanted, but I got to see how that was. And it also was a good thing that I was able to see, when you do have the money, you're able to treat yourself, but also we can't get everything you want. 100%. Like, we're not getting this, that, it's not that, like, greed or like, too much.
Yeah, no,
you know?
for sure. Little tip for, if you're an aspiring entrepreneur or, an upcoming entrepreneur and you just got started, you need to understand, from my point of view, I had no investing, no funding, nothing. I remember I think it's also important, sorry, you can continue, but it's also important to mention, like, that you never had that, I mean, you have your cousin, but like that mentor that you could literally, that you could pick up the phone. Because like I said, I know that for me, I mean, I do it with everything in my life. I call my dad for everything. I'm like, how do you defrost a chicken breast? But you know what's funny? But I can call my dad for anything, or I'm like, I just need your opinion. Like, give me your opinion. It's not my friend. It's like, give me your opinion. Businessman mindset. Yeah. Give me your opinion. But you know what? Who could you call? I have no one right now.
Exactly.
And that's why I'm trying to get connected with your dad, and I've created that relationship with your dad, because I literally have no one.
Yeah. Well, you have him.
Yeah, now I have him. So yeah, it's gang. Now I have your dad, but initially, even my cousin, it's like he's coming from another standpoint. Remember, it's the streets. He's coming from the perspective of like fiends. Yeah. And like dope boys. But I think that's always like, that's why it's so cool to have just like different opinions. Yeah, because it's not relatable to, especially the fitness industry, where it's like, it's almost like you're creating a new safe space, a home for people. Yeah. So it's not the same, like, it's not the same consumer. Yeah. So it's completely different. It's also very like I like the fitness industry is super like glamorized right now as well. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's like so much more grit and resilience necessary. But okay, so we're gonna get back into the tips. If we've talked about the pros and the cons, I want to give tips about starting. Yeah, starting. And also having the confidence to start. That's the hardest part. The confidence, and also understanding the difference between having a side hustle and being 100% committed to entrepreneurship. Yeah. Because the thing is that a lot of people, and especially with social media now, entrepreneurship is so trendy and something that people want to do. It's like the freedom. Oh, I'm an entrepreneur. It's like, this shit is not glamorous. Yeah. Like, I've been up, I've been down, I've been up, I've been down. I'm getting out of a hole right now. It's like, you need to understand that this is why Nipsey came out with the marathon. Yeah. You're consistently running laps, and not every lap is as good as the last one. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to catch a crap. You're running every single day. You're going to catch a crap. You're going to get dehydrated. Someone's going to pass you. Your time is going to be shit. And it's like, you got to keep going. And realize that it's all on you. It's all on you. That's the thing. It's your name on the wall. It's your name. It's your product. Yes. That it's you that people attach the product to. So if there's something wrong with it, it falls on you, the service, the product, whatever it is. 100%. And like, a lot of people think that, because I've seen it with like trainers that come into the gym, like, okay, yeah, I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to quit my job. Like, it's 10 toes down. I'm in this. Yeah. Like, they quit their job. They're 10 toes down. And then after that, it's like, they start fumbling, and then they go find that security. Yeah. Like, if you're getting commission, if you're going back to a corporate gym, if you're doing anything that gives you that security, while you're not an entrepreneur. Like, you have that entrepreneur side, you have that side hustle, which it is entrepreneurship, but like, if you're going all in because you want to quit your 9 to 5, you really want to just focus on one thing, understand that it will not be glamorous. It's fucking ugly. Yeah. It's an ugly game, and you just have to have faith and see the vision. Yeah. Because you can have all the funding, you can have all the resources, But if you don't see the vision, the end goal, what's at the finish line, yo, you already lost. Yeah. You lost at this game of entrepreneurship.
Right at the beginning. Like right at
the jump.
Yeah.
Like if your vision is not clear, if you can't explain your dream, it's not clear, then you lost.
Yeah.
You might as well just go back to a 9 to 5 or go back to that security because you're not going to make it out. So understand, if you're an aspiring entrepreneur or you're an upcoming entrepreneur, coming from my place, I've done this for 10 years. I've opened gyms since 2017. I'm still trying to reopen and relocate and do all these things. And it's fucking ugly. But I see the end goal, which is why I keep doing it, which is why I could live off of this.
So I want to like jump into that because I think what's also like the point that you're making here is important because part of the entrepreneurship, like that goal, the marathon, the journey that we're talking about, it's really fueled by the fact oftentimes that you don't have something else left to fall back on because what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. Yeah. So when what you're saying right now, like for example, like I somewhat agree with what you're saying because you mentioned that you're not a full like entrepreneur if you do have that 9 to 5. Like
I didn't want to say it like that.
I know what you mean though. I know what you mean. Like so I was like, let me jump in here because personally I do have another job where I do have, of course, someone over me. I work at the club and my favorite part about what I do is obviously it's great money, but I love the staff. I love who I work with. I love my bosses. I love my managers. I love the club that I work at as a whole. Like a fucking vibe. It's so nice. It's like, and I love all the girls that I work with, all the bus boys. Like everyone's honestly such a family. It's amazing. And but I mentioned this last episode, but I committed to doing this extra job, like working at the club, because it didn't take away from my entrepreneurship. Like, because it didn't take away from my business. If I took something up, for example, on like a Monday, Tuesday at like 8 a.m. or whatever, 9 a.m., those would interfere with my business hours. The fact that I work from 9 p.m. till 4 a.m. on Friday and Saturday, it does not interfere because I wouldn't be doing anything for my business necessarily during those hours. So I will mention that. But that important part that you brought up was the fact that that grit, that resilience, that fuel under your ass that drives entrepreneurship, you got to be all in.
You got to be all in.
So and like you said, it's all about the vision and dropping everything to really put it all on yourself. Because even if I didn't have the club job, like I would be amazing with my clients at the gym. But it's really that need. Like you have to have like that fire. I keep saying that fire under your ass. But it's like I have nothing else to fall back on. It's that safety that like restricts people. Oh, I'll take like 2 or 3 clients. I could do part-time here and part-time there just so like I can start my business that way. But like I remember when I started and I was like, should I do this? Should I do that? And you're like, literally, you need to put if you want to get to where you want to be, you need to put in those hours. You need to put in those hours. Yeah, and I did. And I was like, I trusted you because I trusted the process. I'm like, you've done it. Like,
I'm here. Yeah. I got kids. And sometimes I'm like, yo, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
I keep doing it. Every month I know I'm going to be good.
Yeah. But you always say that. You're like, I'm like, are you doing okay? You're like, yeah, I'm good. But like, straight up, you say it like that. You're like, I know I will be good. Like whatever it takes, you're going to make it happen.
And that's entrepreneurship. Yeah. That's the hustle. That's the grind. That's the fucking grind. And going back, that's why there's Nipsey all over the gym. That's the marathon.
We don't bend, we don't fold.
100%.
And it's everywhere.
We don't break, we don't bend, we don't fold. And that's why you have to understand, whatever you do, even if you have a 9 to 5 and you have a project on the side, just understand that whatever you want in life that's worth having, it's a marathon. Yeah. You don't get it like that. It's not going to come overnight. Social media, you could literally go on social media, you'll get that instant gratification. You go and you want a car, you could drive off the lot without even investing anything into the. They made it so easy for people to be conditioned to think that things come easily. It's that accessibility. When things are accessible, it's not that valuable. It's not like that. With rarity and with like lack of accessibility, that's when things become worth it. That's 100%. When that's where the value comes. 100%. You know. So all that to say is that honestly, like, and if you're starting, if you're like thinking about entrepreneurship, you see it all over social media, and you think it's something for you, pursue it. Do it, but go fully in. You have to. There's no other option. Yeah, and just make sure you have faith. That's the most important thing. Because if you don't believe in yourself, if you're not able to believe in something that's not physically there, then you're not made for this. You're setting yourself up for failure, 100%. And you got to enjoy the journey because it's a long one. It's a long one. But I think we'll wrap it up there. Yes. I think that was a really good episode. Honestly, like we're going to have the YouTube up. Everything's going to be up on Spotify, the YouTube channel. Check them both out. We're going to have the Instagram page that's going to be up soon as well. And we'd love to hear what you want us to talk about. So there's going to be different episodes, of course.
and of a direction where we want to go. Because of course we hope this is entertaining, but we also do want to provide value for everyone. Last episode we were talking about relationships, and coming from personal experience, I think that a lot of experience, like sharing of experiences, do help people, whether it's relatability or we'll mention something that we did that works for us. It could help you. But same thing, we jumped into entrepreneurship today, and we hope you kind of took a little bit away, if not any like necessarily concrete direction, but at least some inspiration perhaps, or hearing where we came from. Me getting fired, you coming from the streets selling drugs, me getting fired selling drugs, me crying in the Dagwoods St. Charles parking lot because I thought my life was over, getting fired at 15. And now I'm walking into BuzzFeed after getting fired. I'm like,
it's so funny because you look at the struggle that, like, I was crying because I was 16, I couldn't find a place to live, and she's like, Dad.
I'm like, Dad, I literally can't. But
it doesn't take away from people's struggles. So anyways, at the end of the day, what we want to do with this podcast is offer entertainment but self-growth.
Yeah, it's all about the growth. Exactly.
When I talk about my stories and my journey, and she talks about her stories and her journey, it could give you those notes for you to not make the same mistakes we did.
And not for anything, I don't think there's any other like duo
100%.
anywhere that's going to give you the same relatability or the same stories that we can, because of where we come from and the differences between us. So let us know what you want to hear about. We are glad to like tap into those topics, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
This is the Opposites Attract podcast, baby, and we
out.